So the next environmental issues in sustainability is the urbanization. The concentration of people in cities increases pollution. More people in the cities need more cars to transport people around and more energy to sustain daily activities at home and offices. Urbanization means increase in the proportion of people living in towns and cities. More people means more demand for houses, which pushes the developers to use lands that once were forests or to reclaim land from bodies of water. Another environmental issues and sustainability is population explosion. Population growth means more industrialization, product consumption, waste, and pollution. Explosion means it is a sudden increase in number of individuals in a specific area at a given time. This means that more natural resources are required to meet the growing demands of the population, and that more people will contribute to environmental pollution. In the Philippines alone, the population is already 92.34 million as of 2010 per NSO report, National Statistic Office report, and is projected to increase to 109.7 million, low assumption by 2020. Next, environmental issues and sustainability is new and uncontrolled technologies. Some companies that prioritize profits, convenience, and consumption over environmental protection disregard the impacts of the technologies they use and develop. Although many business organizations that focus on technological advancements are now more aware of their social responsibility to the environment, it is still not a mainstream concern for most companies. The use of genetically modified organisms and food, for example, is currently controversial due to its environmental implications. A genetically modified organism is any organism with genetic material that has been artificially manipulated in a laboratory using genetic engineering techniques. Some plants are genetically modified by a rhesus pest without the use of pesticides. Others are generally modified to produce higher yield of crops in shorter period of time. Some articles cite that there are not enough studies on the long-term effects of GMOs, but among the identified effects include toxicity of chemicals associated to GMOs with non-target organisms such as butterflies, birds, and bees, which are important in the pollination of important food crops. Small changes in the genetic makeup of plants or food crops may result to ecological changes later on when they adapt to pesticides or become invasive in forms. This will create an imbalance in the biodiversity of ecosystems. The last one, environmental issues and sustainability, is the industrialization. Industrial activities deplete natural resources, and the destructive use of the environment for economic reasons causes environmental decay. Industriali- Industrialization means the process of transforming the economy of a nation or region from a focus on agriculture to a reliance on manufacturing. Air and water pollution due to the manufacturing activities, improper waste management, use and improper disposal of toxic chemicals, and other activities are associated with the manufacturing sector. Those are the environmental issues environmental issues and sustainability. The first one, consumer affluence. Next is materialistic cultural values. Third one is urbanization. Fourth one is population explosion. Fifth is new and uncontrolled technologies, and the last one is industrialization. In the Philippines, farming and fishing are major sources of livelihood in rural households. However, some farming techniques being utilized have brought unwanted environmental consequences such as soil erosion, water pollution, groundwater depletion, loss of natural habitats, and loss of biological diversity. Various sectors initiated to mitigate the adverse environmental impacts of farming systems to protect agricultural production. The Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, or DNR, for example, initiated the process of formulating a Philippine strategy in sustainable development in 1987. Through a series of consultations with different sectors, Cabinet Resolution number 37 was passed, which approved the conceptual framework of PSSD, a sustainable development strategy which aims to achieve economic growth with adequate protection of the country's biological resources and its diversity, vital ecosystem functions, and overall environmental quality. In addition, targeting environmental sustainability in the Philippines was formulated in the United Nations Millennium Development Goals, which cover the following goals. First one is integrate the principles of sustainable development into country policies and programs, including reverse loss of environmental resources. Second one is reduce by half the proportion of people without sustainable access to safe drinking water. And the last one, achieve significant improvement in the lives of slum dwellers. The bottom line approach, a measure of success used by social responsive business organizations, incorporates three dimensions of performance: financial, social, and ecological. This triple bottom line approach dimensions are also commonly referred to as the cheapest: people, planets, and profits. Traditionally, businesses have always looked at environmental concerns as burdens and barriers to economic growth. Both sustainable business and sustainable economic development seek to create a new ways in order to do business where the success is measured based on the triple bottom line approach: economic, ethical, and environmental sustainability. You have here the environmental values. The environment is not an unlimited resource. But, but why should business organizations be concerned with and value the natural world? Why does the environment need protection from degradation? The answer is simple. Environmental concerns are relevant to business because beings depend on the environment to survive. Future generations must be able to enjoy the same things we have now. According to according to the Natural Step, an environmental research and consulting group, the resources necessary to sustain life is decreasing, while the worldwide demand for these resources due to population growth, and consumerist lifestyle is increasing. Declining resources and ecosystem services, increasing demand for resources and ecosystem services. The natural step uses backcasting, a process in which it examines what will be when we emerge through the funnel. It follows the steps below. Begin with the end in mind. What do we have to do today in order to be successful in the endeavor? Move backward from the vision to present. Move step by step toward the vision. So here is the example of backcasting. Here is So first one is begin with the end in mind. Move backwards from the vision to the present. Move step by step towards the vision. For example, if your goal is to graduate from senior high school, ask yourself, what do I have to do today in order for me to graduate on time? Move backward from that vision to the present. You know that in order for you to graduate on time, you have to pass all your subjects by doing well in exams and submitting the subject requirements. You do it step by step, one subject at a time, one semester at a time. You do not overwhelm yourself with being concerned with all the subjects you need to take before you graduate. Similarly, businesses go through the same steps when they do backcasting. They must take action in order not to jeopardize human well-being by exceeding the Earth's capacity to renew the resources and absorb the waste. This calls for measures on environmental sustainability in order to once again widen the walls of the funnel. So here are the different approaches to environmental sustainability. To facilitate activities and actions that promote protection and proper use of natural resources, there are three different approaches to environmental sustainability that business organizations can practice. So the different approaches to environmental sustainability, the first one is the market approach, second is the regulatory approach, and the third one is the sustainability approach. So what is the market approach? The market approach in achieving environmental sustainability focuses on efficient markets that seek profits but allow the market to allocate resources efficiently. Market-based approaches to environmental protection are premises on the idea that it is possible to involve corporations, individuals, and government agencies by using prices that force them to economize. They try to put the powerful and advantages of markets to work in service to the environment. So the next approach will be the regulatory approach. The regulatory approaches require government agencies to restrict or direct activities of regulated parties using terms and conditions within statutory and regulatory instruments, operating permits, licenses, approvals, or codes of practice. Of practice. Every country implements its own laws and regulations on environmental protection. In the Philippines, the DNR is responsible for the conservation, management, and development and proper use of the environmental and natural resources, and for guaranteeing the equitable sharing of the benefits from all natural resources for the welfare of the present and future generations of Filipinos. It is tasked to regulate the use of natural resources, issue permits to businesses that require use of these resources, and implement policies to prevent pollution and abuse of natural resources. The regulatory standards established by the government are supposed to be in place to prevent the occurrence of pollution, environment degradation, and species extinction rather than to offer compensation after the fact. These laws can be considered as the minimum standards to ensure air and water quality and species preservation. Business organizations must comply with these regulations and must ensure that the minimum standards are met. So the last approach to environmental sustainability is the sustainability approach. Sustainability or sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So here are the circular flow model. According to economist Herman Daly, we will need a major paradigm shift in our understanding of economic activity. The problem with the circular flow model is that it does not differentiate natural resources from other factors of production and does not identify the origin of the resources. The circular flow model just assumes that resources are provided by the household for the businesses. It also fails to note that resources are finite and just assumes that natural resources are an indefinite resource that can be used by companies. Another important thing to note is that the circular flow model treats economic growth as limitless. To keep up with population growth, the economy must grow. To provide for better standard of living, the economy must grow. To provide solution to poverty, hunger, and social inequality, the economy must grow. Next is the sustainable model. The sustainable model recognizes that the economy exists within the biosphere with finite resources. From the first law of thermodynamics, the conservation of matter and energy, we learned that neither matter nor energy can truly be created. It can only be transformed from one form to another. From the second law of thermodynamics, entropy increases within a closed system. We learn that energy is lost at every stage of economic activity, and the amount of usable energy decreases over time with waste energy, leaving the economic system continuously requiring low entropy energy to constantly flow into the system. The sustainable model recognizes that input of natural resources and the presence of waste produced at each stage of economic activity that are dumped back into the biosphere. This model also identifies the biophysical limits to growth. The biosphere can produce resources indefinitely and it can absorb waste indefinitely, but only at a certain rate and with a certain type of economic activity. Matching the rate and type of economic activity in the resources needed to sustain the economic activity is what creates a sustainable practice, which is the ultimate environmental sustainability of business. So, here are the different principles for business sustainability. The first one is eco efficiency, next is biomimicry, and the last one is service based company. The sustainable model provides a general picture of how business organizations should conduct their businesses in consideration of their environmental responsibility. This section will discuss the general principles for a sustainable business based on the sustainable model discussed in the previous section. So, what is eco efficiency? Eco efficiency is practically doing more with less and has been an environmental guidelines for decades. For example, riding a bike is better than riding a bus. Riding a bus or train is better than flying on a plane. In terms of measuring one's carbon footprint or the amount of greenhouse gases produces to directly or indirectly support human activities. Businesses business organizations can improve energy efficiently in their offices through energy saving lighting, better building design, more environmentally product design, and more efficient distribution channels. The next principles for business sustainability is the biomimicry. Is the second principle where ideally the waste materials of one company is thrown into a resource by another firm. The ultimate goal of this principle is to eliminate waste instead of just reducing it. The ultimate goal, one of example or strategy that follows this principle is closed loop production. A manufacturing or production that seeks to integrate what is presently waste back into production. The third sustainable businesses principle involves a shift business model from goods to services. Service-based economy interprets consumer demand as a demand for services, transportation, laundry, and maintenance of cars and appliances, among others. These principles produces incentives for product redesigns that create more durable and more recyclable products. For example, consumers may choose to have their clothes cleaned by a laundry service company instead of buying their own washing machines. To be able to conduct the service, the laundry service company will have to purchase industrial grade, more durable washing machines which will last longer than the consumer grade washing machines. Sustainable development is a long term strategy for business organizations and requires careful planning within the management. Cost savings can be achieved through sustainable practices, especially if they can incorporate recycling, upcycling, or reusing of materials in their production process. Competitive advantage may also be achieved, especially if catering to environmental conscious of consumers. Earth is the only home we have. It is imperative to take care of it, especially now that we are facing environmental problems. There is a call now for international public awareness on environmental sustainability, and countries in different parts of the world come up with legislations to protect the environment.